Hi everyone, my name is James and I'm the Vice President for Education in the Students' Union. I'm joined here with Graham and we are going to go through the SafeNet policy, and I'm going to ask a few questions, try and clarify a few things that might be a bit confusing at the moment. So yeah, I'll pass over to Graham.
Hi folks, good to meet you. My name's Graham Bird. I'm the Associate Pro Vice Chancellor for Teaching and Learning, and I'm also based in the School of Natural Sciences, so some of you may know me from there.
Thank you, Graham. So broadly speaking, what is the SafeNet policy and what does it aim to do for students this academic year?
Yeah, so what it essentially is you can think of it as a package of measures that the university has taken and will take over the course of the academic year to ultimately help support students sort of during the pandemic. And it contains some actions that are relevant to all students, and then some more targeted actions, for example, in relation to students who are graduating this year or, for example, moving to the next sort of year of study.
So does this policy differ from the force majeure regulations implemented last year when lockdown happened? And if so, why is it different this year?
Yeah, so as you say, we had our force majeure regulations for the last academic year. We've not been able to roll them forward to this year in their entirety due to some restrictions placed on us by sort of various regulators of sort of higher education. But what we have done is try to take some of the most effective and useful bits of the force majeure and then develop them into this new safety net policy for this year. And I think we're going to go through just some of the ways in which that helps all students and also specific students as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So as it says in the safety net policy, there's actions relevant to all students. What are these?
Yeah, so for example, we've got our remote study policy. So obviously any student who's not been able to be on campus due to COVID-19 has been able to follow and complete their studies remotely online. We've also developed and updated and amended our special circumstances policy. So for example, we've now got sort of COVID-19 related special circumstances that students can choose and can use. And then for all students, when we get to the exam board phase at the end of the programme or at the end of the academic year, you know, our exam boards will be using all the evidence that they have to be able to identify potential anomalies and to address those. So one of the really powerful bits of evidence we have is from our ARC reports, which is a name given to the statistical analysis that we perform of our module marks data, and that gives us the evidence to be able to identify anomalies and to address them. And all exam boards will be doing that for all students.
Absolutely. So if a cohort of students is really finding a module challenging and different this year due to COVID circumstances, that will most likely get sorted at the exam board level.
Yeah, so certainly, and particularly if there's evidence of that impact sort of coming through into the assessment marks, absolutely.
Okay. So for undergraduate students graduating this year, could you confirm how their final grade is being calculated?
Yeah, for sure. So I think in the safety net policy, we'd use some terms around levels, which we use for good reason, but it might just help to explain. So level 4 would be the first year of study. Level 5 is year 2. Level 6 is year 3, which could be your final year. Level 7 is your 4th year or is master's level. Okay, so for undergraduate and extended undergraduate students graduating this year, we've got your higher average from 2019-20 calculated by force majeure. That comes forward into the calculation. We also have your year average from this year, and they're combined together to give you a final overall average. For master's students this year, basically, if you started in January 2020, we're applying force majeure to you and all the bits of force majeure we can. If a master's student, if you started in September 2020, we're applying the safety net policy to you folks.
So the safe net policy refers to borderline final averages. What do these mean?
Yeah, so as we just talked about previously, in terms of how we calculate your final overall average. So all students have a final overall average, and borderlines are essentially final averages that sit within 2% of a degree class boundary. So, for example, for an undergraduate student, there's a degree class boundary between a 2.2 and a 2.1, which sits at 60%. So 2% below that would be a borderline. Or, for example, for a master's student, there's the boundary between merit and distinction, which sits at 70%. So 2% below 70 would be a borderline. And to sort of reflect the disruption that all students have faced due to the COVID pandemic, what we're saying is that essentially we're giving all students a special circumstances status in relation to borderlines. So essentially, if your final overall average is a borderline, you will be automatically raised to the higher sort of degree class, and that relates to undergraduate, to extended undergraduate, and to master's students.
Thank you for clarifying that. So what if a degree is linked to a professional body like nursing or engineering? Will they still accept a degree from 2021?
Oh, for certain, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. We've been really clear that, we need to maintain, the standard and the value of our degrees. And in particular, where programs have professional requirements or accreditation requirements, we have to ensure that we continue to meet these. So therefore, those particular bodies, will still sort of accept the qualifications in relation to their requirements. And more generally, we've been really keen and clear that we need to sort of maintain, the value of your degree, so you can sort of go forward out there into employment, etc., with confidence.
So we briefly touched on the borderline special circumstances. How have the normal special circumstances changed, and do I, as a student, still need to apply for them?
Yeah, so we've, as I said earlier on, we've developed a range of new COVID-19 related special circumstances. What I would say is that if you should still submit reports of special circumstances if you're being affected by particular specific problems, and they could be COVID related, of course, or they could be any particular problems. And so if you're having your studies disrupted by specific problems, please do still tell us to report special circumstances. And also, in particular, one of the most effective ways that we can provide support is through, for example, extensions to coursework, or granting of first sits for exams. So again, you should really please still do apply for things like extensions or for first sits, because they really help us to provide support that's targeted to for example, towards specific assessments. So please still do keep telling us of the problems that you're facing.
Absolutely, yeah. So could you explain what the terms progression and compensatable fail are? I know these are included in the safety net policy, but yeah, just to clarify it for students.
Yeah, sure. I'll try and do it in a concise way. So progression's a bit easier. So progression, basically, what we're talking there is when you're moving from one level or year within your degree to the next. So, for example, from year 1 to year 2, or from year 2 to year 3, for example, that's what we term progression. A compensatable fail, so that's a module mark that is below the pass mark, but doesn't stop you from progressing to the next level of study or from qualifying for a degree at the end of your studies. So one way to think about it is that a compensatable fail doesn't bring with it a mandatory resit. if you like.
Thanks for clarifying that. So how has this changed for this academic year, 2020 to 21?
Yeah, so for this particularly obviously relates to undergraduate degrees because they have progression within them. And what we've done is we've lowered the mark threshold for compensation for up to 20 credits of non-core modules. So we've just put a little bit more flexibility into the system, provide a little bit more of a safety net, if you like. So we've just lowered that compensation threshold for up to 20 credits. What I would say is, even if a student has got one of those compensatable fail marks in a module, you could and perhaps potentially still should maybe take that as an optional resit, to help get your module mark up, which potentially up to the pass mark, and that really could help you with your final sort of degree qualification down the line.
Absolutely, yeah. So who should I contact if I have any specific questions about my circumstances and or how the policy relates to my studies?
Yeah, always. I mean, we always want to know what this means for me, in my particular circumstances and my particular situation. So I guess my best advice would be sort of contact your school in the first instance. For example, your personal tutor, and or maybe your sort of program or course director. So I think, yeah, definitely sort of contact your school in the first instance, because obviously they'll be able to help provide support that's very relevant to your subject or degree.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's important to clarify that here in the university and in the Students' Union, we are here to support you, and there's no stigma about getting in touch with us, and I'd really recommend talking to your personal tutor, course director about any problems that you're having and opening up a dialogue, because it's that communication that really does benefit you, and the staff at the university are here to support you. So yeah, thanks for joining me, Graham. I hope that's helped students watching and cleared things up a little bit. And yeah, if you've got any more questions, feel free to contact us at the Students' Union, or if you've got any specific questions, like I said before, contact your personal tutor and hopefully they'll get it sorted. So yeah, thank you.
No problem, you're very welcome, and just to wish everybody all the very best with their studies for the remainder of the academic year. Okay, cheers, man.